Good morning, you guys. Today we're gonna do a little post shift, kind of what I do in a day to recover after a day of work. I'm back in for another 24-hour shift tomorrow. So today is Friday, or sorry, that just goes to show where my head is at. We had 4 after midnight, so I'm a little scrambled brained. Yesterday was Friday. We worked a 24-hour shift, and then we're back in on Sunday. Just gonna kind of take you guys along for a typical day post shift, kind of how I recover, how I power through the day, and then ultimately how I set myself up to be ready to go back to work tomorrow. I feel like I got a bit of the shift face going on. And that was something that was described to me that I thought was hilarious. One guy said, and after work, you kind of have this where you feel like you're a little intoxicated because you're a little sleep deprived. So that's kind of how I feel today. So bear with me as I try to kind of take you guys along. So local time is 7:44. As I mentioned, we had 4 calls after midnight. So I think I got like accumulatively maybe 2.5, 3 hours of sleep. So one thing that we really want to prioritize following that day is just to make sure we rehydrate. So when we do go into the gym and sort of enter our day, that we're giving the body what we need. So I got some electrolytes in here. I got my creatine. So we're gonna drink this, get a coffee going. Will be my first coffee of the day. And then we'll kind of get into things. When I first started my career, I felt like I had to sleep. Even if I got decent sleep at work, we all know the sleep that we're getting at work isn't really restful to begin with, but I felt that I always had the need to go to sleep. I'm not sure if it's just my body's adapted to the shift work better or what it is, but I find that I don't really have to do that. And I actually try to avoid doing that. I find I just feel extremely groggy after I wake up. So my approach is kind of hydration, movement, and then get stuck into the day, power through, and then ultimately prioritize sleep at night. We'll get things rocking and rolling in here. Hopefully get this brain working, because right now it's feeling like it's misfiring a little. So I'm sure you guys all know that feeling. I think as we got the espresso machine going, it's a perfect opportunity to kind of talk about caffeine. I think in first response and emergency services as a firefighter, caffeine is definitely something we utilize, but I think it's something that we have to enjoy responsibly. I know that sounds funny, but I think a lot of the reasons that people have issues with feeling tired during the day or with not being able to sleep at night is due to drinking too much coffee. So I try to stick to around like 1 or 2 a day, nothing after noon, just because again, I want to prioritize sleep tonight. If we can't get a good night's rest tonight, it's really going to prevent our ability to show up the next day. Sleep's so important for recovery. So enjoy your limit, play within it. Let's get this coffee going. Yeah, latte needs some work, as you can tell. It's a bear paw, baby, let's go, just like I planned. I think the best way to start any day, whether it's an off day or even before work, is to have a little movement. Allows me to really feel my best and set me up for success the rest of the day. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. A lot of people ask me like, what do I do when it comes to workouts after shift? I'll give you guys some of my approaches and philosophy when it comes to the things I do after work and how that kind of depends on what my shift before looked like. So with a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of exercise, we're gonna get this day rocking and rolling and get stuck into things here. This is sometimes the last thing I wanna do, but I can guarantee I'm gonna feel it 1,000 times better after this workout. So a little warm up on the bike here for about 5 minutes just to get that body warmed up, increase that heart rate, get into a little mobility just to open up the thoracic spine and get the body ready for a kind of pull focus functional session. Like I said, not exactly thrilled to be training right now, but I'm gonna feel right as rain in about 5-10 minutes. So let's go. Thing never gets easier. Holy. We got our foam roller here. I think anyone that trains should have one of these. Not only is it good for some soft tissue work, but it's really good for some things like this. So basically, because we're working our upper body today, we want to make sure that we mobilize the thoracic spine kind of before we get moving. If the T-spine of the thoracic spine isn't moving effectively, usually it's the low back that has to compensate. So in order to make sure that our body's ready to move, we just want to make sure that everything's warmed up and mobile. So basically the first thing we want to do here, give yourself a little bit of hug. We're going to start kind of at the base of your rib cage and then work our way up. And we're just going to kind of open up on the roller and then back up and then move down and kind of segmentally work through the spine. Find those spots that might be a little stiff, hang out there, and basically, like I said, we're just trying to mobilize that upper back Next thing we're gonna do is a little cat-cow again. You wanna imagine that you're segmentally from the base of your spine all the way up to your head, kind of mobilizing that structure. So as we inhale, we're gonna arch, bend forward, head comes up. Exhale, head comes down, and then kind of work your way down like a wave, pushing through the floor, rounding through that back. Inhale, head goes up. Exhale, back down. Shooting for about 5 to 10 of these, nice and slow. Now to work a little rotation in the thoracic spine, we're gonna kind of stay in this all fours position. We're gonna imagine that we're reaching through, feel a good stretch in that upper back. I'm trying to get up to that 12 o'clock position. Try to make sure that most of the movement is happening about the back, not about the hips. And again, 5 to 10 per side here. Other side down. My approach usually when starting a workout is you don't want to go 0 to 100 too quick. I kind of want to slowly ease into things. So we're going to start here with a little pull down. So from the standing position, I'm going to hinge forward slightly. We're going to reach for that cable, keeping that back nice and flat. Trying not to arch the back. I want all the length and mobility to coming from the lats, because again, we're almost treating like this like an extension of our warm up. So I just want to make sure that those lats are really nice and opened up and kind of ease in from there. And then we'll slowly dial up the intensity as we go. Feet shoulder apart, hinging at the hips, reaching overhead, good stretch in those lats, driving down, squeezing that back. Really working that kind of mind muscle connection for these first few sets, just as I open everything up and kind of get the body primed and ready to move. So 12 to 15 of these on the lighter side, and then we'll increase the weight for set number 2. Awesome. So next, again, just to kind of prime the core and the nervous system, we're gonna do a little suitcase march. So working some core strength, stability. The nice fun part is we're just gonna add a little band. So what the band's gonna do is it's gonna kind of make that load a little bit more unstable and dynamic, which is really gonna force our body, our nervous system, our core to adapt. And again, the idea at the beginning here is we just want to get everything turned on, everything fired up. Long night at work, a little groggy, a little sluggish in the morning, so we want to get the body rocking and rolling. So I got a band doubled up here. I'm gonna go over to the suitcase orientation. You can see how the kettlebell is already bouncing around. We're just gonna do 10 nice and slow per side. We can do these all day long like this. I want nice, slow controlled reps, really having to foster some stability. Switching to the other side, same thing. Driving the knee up, getting that leg level with the ground, alternating side to side. 5 more. We're working fast just to elevate that heart rate and ultimately work some endurance as well as functional strength. So we increase the weight here. Now we're gonna shoot for another kind of 12 to 15 reps, see how things are feeling. Really focus on extend and squeeze. Imagining that there's a pencil between those shoulder blades. Squeezing, driving with the elbows. Last one, squeeze. I wanna make sure if I started on my right side last time that we're gonna start on the left side this time. We're training what's referred to as proprioception, meaning as this weight bounces around, moves around, our nervous system has to compensate for that movement, which is gonna make us stronger and our body more resilient and kind of unpredictable movements that happen in day-to-day life, especially if you work at the firefighter. Guys, I understand, like after a shift, sometimes training, lifting is like the last thing you wanna do. I promise you, you're gonna feel so much better after this. So getting into the last set, we got the stack here maxed out. Intensity is increasing. The body's ready to rock and roll, so we're gonna get what it wants. A lot of you ask me, what is your approach to training after shift? Just like in our world, in the world of first response, nothing is black and white. There's a ton of gray. So if I have an absolutely brutal night the day before, if I'm up at a fire all night, I'm not gonna be doing max effort deadlifts. I'm not gonna be doing super high intensity efforts. I might treat that more as an active recovery day. If I have a typical night, like last night where we're, 3 or 4 runs after midnight, I got a little bit of sleep. I'm gonna, approach the session with some moderate effort, challenging myself, but not doing anything too crazy. I think it's one of those things that's gonna be completely dependent on your current level of fitness, as well as the night you had. Just be smart, listen to your body. It's intuitively gonna tell you what it can and can't do, and you just need to try your best to listen to that message. I know I can be bad for it at times, but we're gonna hop into set number 2 here. Double kettlebell row, so hinging at the hips, nice flat back. We're gonna drive with the elbows, again, squeezing that back at those kettlebells, and then setting them back down from a dead stop, and then starting again. We're gonna shoot for 6 to 10, and then we're gonna superset that over on the turf with the ab wheel. I think one of the things that the ab wheel is often not looked at as a back developer, but as I go in this extended position, really working those lats, especially if I go nice and slow, eccentrically loading those lats, lots of time under tension. It can be a great way of developing the core and the back at the same time. So I'm gonna just shoot for 5 reps, but again, nice and slow, good stretch, opening up to the front of the body, and then coming back up. Keeping the core braced, good stretch, and then back up. I said, you guys aren't feeling that? My lats just like is anywhere else. A lot of times people will feel this movement in their low back because what they're doing is they're hyperextending through that low back so they don't have the core strength and stability. So if you notice that, just limit your range of motion. You need to start here, that's totally okay. And then eventually we get farther out to the point where you can kind of get that belly all the way to the ground while maintaining neutral spine and ensuring everything's strong and supported in that low back. I usually shoot for 3 to 4 sets of each exercise, maybe 4 or 5 working sets. I'll get me around the 30, 35, 40 minute mark, and that's perfect. That's the thing, the more you train, the more you develop that mind-muscle connection. On this rep, I can really focus on working the core. On this rep, I'm thinking lats, lats, lats. So next we're gonna get into a little bird dog row. With that double bent over row, nothing is holding up my upper body except the musculature of my back. So again, really working some core strength. We're gonna take it up one more notch further. We're gonna go into that bird dog position, but we're gonna now add a row component. So again, you will feel everything from head to toe is having to work overtime to create that stability to row from there. So this movement, again, very, very challenging, but gonna develop a ton of strength in the back and also that whole core. We're gonna stabilize from here, neutral spine. You can see the shaking. That is because every muscle in my body is having to work. Other side, same thing. Everything's on, glutes on, core engaged. Next, we're gonna get into a side plank position, but we're gonna add in a little row. The row is gonna add, again, some instability. The core is really gonna have to work, and then we're gonna develop the back as well at the same time. Similar movement to here, another rowing movement. So it's kind of like doing a drop set. If you've ever done a workout in the past where you do a couple reps with a really heavy weight, drop it to a lighter weight, we're doing 2 different movements, but kind of the same philosophy there. So just being able to push the muscle a little farther into fatigue just because we're dropping the weight and intensity just a touch. So adding an element of instability, but also working the back. We're gonna do 10 per side. I challenge you guys to take mental inventory of what side feels easier. I know for sure, because I'm right-handed, I played hockey for a lot of years, that left side of my body, because I shot right-handed, is super developed. This always feels way easier than that other side. Beautiful. We are doing functional movements with kettlebells and doing things that are a little bit more atypical compared to, you know, typical bodybuilding style movements. But you can see, like, obviously we got a pump going, we're working those muscles in a similar fashion, still applying these hypertrophy principles, just under kind of a different stimulus, a different setting. Don't think because you're training functionally that you can't get big and strong as well. So similar to a lot of the other movements, we start on the right side, therefore this time, we're gonna start on that left side. Ideally, I should be strong enough to stabilize the hips, the spine, that I should be able to balance this ball in my low back while doing that. So prime example of how much stability do I have to create to maintain that tabletop position while holding a 53-pound kettlebell on one side of my body. So that's the kind of stability that's gonna allow you to really be resilient and bulletproof in day-to-day life. You wanna humble yourself, give that a try, and let me know how it goes. So I don't wanna see this, I wanna see the butt sagging. I don't wanna see you in hyperextension. Nice straight line, all the way down the midline of my body, as well as down my ear right to my ankle. Stretch, 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 drive. Stretch, 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 drive with that elbow. Range of motion overweight any single day. I'd rather have you go a fourth of the weight and be able to get through that full range than be doing this. We should be operating and utilizing that muscle in its full range of motion. Full extension, nice stretch in that lat. Drive that elbow, full extension, nice stretch in that lat. Even look how hard my bottom arm is having to work to create that stability. Really gripping that bench. People are going to trash functional fitness all day long. I've done powerlifting, I've done bodybuilding, I've done it all. At almost 30 years old, I feel better now than I did when I was 19, when I was training in that fashion. So say what you want, don't knock it till you try it. Honestly, the fact that you're getting into the gym and prioritizing your health and wellness is amazing. So I'm not gonna trash any other modality. I think they're all great. Just as someone who's done everything, someone who also runs around 60 miles a week, this just seems to work the best for me. So I think this is how you're gonna see me in the gym for hopefully the next 100 years. So hopping into our last set here, I think I might finish with some arms, and I might show you guys one of my favorite arm movements, just because again, we're doing pull focus, so we've been working a lot of biceps while we've been training, but there's one exercise I'd love to show you that kind of isolates those. So stay to the end. It's gonna build mobility and build the biceps, which is something you don't hear in the same sentence very often. A lot of the clients that I work with say, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy. I'm just asking for 30 to 40 minutes of your time, and I promise that if you prioritize training and nutrition, it won't rob you of energy. It's gonna give you so much more energy. And you gotta do it for a couple weeks. You gotta make it a habit, but I promise you, prioritizing this stuff is gonna bleed into every aspect of your life. It's gonna allow you to show up as a better husband, father, wife, mother, brother, son. I can guarantee it. Physically, mentally, I cannot advocate for enough, especially among the first responder community. So hopping in to our last exercise, I think one of the best ways to develop the back is with time under tension. So this superset, I promise you, it's gonna be very, very difficult, and you're gonna be sore for probably 3 days, but this is one of my favorite ways to finish, especially now at the end of the workout that we've already kind of pre-fatigued the muscle. Really good finisher here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an eccentric pull-up, meaning we're gonna jump up, we're gonna use momentum from our legs to get us in that top position of the pull-up, and then we're gonna go nice, slow 5 count on the way down. Again, one way to really target a muscle and force it to grow is through slow eccentrics. So as we go nice and slow down, time under tension, it's really gonna help stress and damage those muscle fibers, which is ultimately how we get the adaptation of muscle growth. 5 of those, we're gonna immediately hop into a pullover. Again, you can see the weight is relatively light. I'm focusing really here on full extension, stretch those lats, and then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as hard as we can in the bottom to get a really good contraction. So this is gonna be a really tough movement for 5 reps. And then again, we're kind of getting into a drop set, working a lighter movement
for a couple more reps, really kind of pushing that muscle past failure. So chin up position, palms facing towards us. We're gonna jump up and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Full extension on the way down and reset. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really targeting the biceps in this grip as well. Last one. Fight, 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 fight. Full extension. And then we're gonna hop over here. So slight hinge at the hips, really driving at those palms. If you've ever been like a swimmer before with your stroke, imagine it, we're pushing the water back. That's the idea here. If you're feeling this in your triceps, it means you're doing something wrong. So drive down again. I almost like to grip the cable like this, kind of in the crease of my thumb and pointer finger. And then imagine that I'm driving those hands backwards and squeezing that back. Nice and slow on the way out. Squeeze. Again, I'm not feeling anything in my triceps here really. This is all lats. Three sets, shooting for 5, nice and slow here. Now we're gonna bang at 10 over here, keeping the rest intervals minimum. 46 minutes in, we're at like 427 calories. Working our muscles, that's including a full warm up, a little chatting, a little bouncing around here because we're filming a video for you guys. You get a lot done in a little bit of time. If you're at a gym and you can't jump up or it's a little too high, you can use like a box or a dumbbell. You can step up onto it and then you kind of jump up from there and then go, just if it's a little too high for you. Hopping right into this immediately, no rest, drive, squeeze. On these last reps, we really want to, same principle, slow, slow, slow. Ooh. Slow. 5, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Whoa. Usually I would hop right in to the next set, the next round. With these, the muscle fatigue is so real, so we kind of gives ourselves a second. All right, you guys, last one. 5 reps here. Spring up, hold, and then 5, 2, 1. Like I said, third set, I'm really struggling. I'm gonna try my hardest on this last one to go as slow as possible. Yeah. Again, as we slowly go out, we're working those lats. Same way as we slowly go out, really eccentrically loading the bicep. All right, we're gonna share that last exercise with you guys, working the biceps and some mobility. I know you heard that right. We're just gonna grab a quick drink of water first. So like I said, guys, working mobility and the biceps. So what we're gonna do, feet shoulder apart, palms are gonna go in front of us. We're gonna sit in this deep squat position. So as you can see, working some mobility in the ankles, in the hips, keeping that low back nice and flat and that chest pressed up. But because our arms are kind of situated in between our legs like that, this is gonna almost act as like a preacher or a concentration curl. So completely gonna eliminate any possibility of swinging, really concentrate on a good contraction of that bicep. Again, while getting comfortable in that deep squat position. If you can't get into this position, that's an indication that you need to work on some mobility. So squeeze, 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 slow, full extension of those arms, squeeze. I love that movement. That is one of my favorite movements. Again, I feel like it's such a good arm exercise. And again, it's a really good way of like seeing where you're at mobility wise. If you really lack that ability to flex your hip, or there's a lot of restriction there, that low back is gonna have to round to compensate for that lack of range. So that's why it's so important to open up the hips, open up the thoracic spine, because ultimately if you think about it, if from here to here isn't moving effectively, and if the hips aren't moving effectively, what's left to compensate? It's usually the low back. Can't preach it enough, you guys. The more mobile you are, the less likely you are to get injured, the more capable you're gonna be. Beautiful, one more set. And it's funny, as I said to you guys, like when I first started, I was feeling super sluggish, feeling super tired. The last thing I wanted to do was train. Now that we're almost done, I feel like I'm ready to tackle the day, ready to take anything on. Basically, I'm gonna cruise through the rest of the day, power through, and we're just gonna prioritize early to bed tonight, because like I said, we gotta go back on shift tomorrow. Instead of sleeping here in the morning, waking up at 11, 12, being up for a couple hours and having a hard time going back to bed, I can guarantee you when I go to bed tonight at 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm gonna be out like a light, and we're gonna be up early tomorrow around 5:15. Probably gonna do a little session on the bike before work tomorrow, and then, you know, cruise right into that Sunday. This is kind of how I set myself up for success, especially coming off shift. And I can't recommend it enough. So one more set here to finish. And just like that, we are done. So that's a wrap on today's session. I hope that gave you guys some insight as to what a day looks like coming off shift, how I try to optimize, you know, wakefulness and my performance through the day, and ultimately set myself up for a good night's sleep tomorrow so we can wake back up and do it all over again. Like the board says, we gotta make sure we're fit for duty, but fit for life as well, and prioritizing your days off is where that starts. If you guys like this information, if you want to find out more and learn more about first responder, functional fitness, training, be sure to subscribe, and we'll check you soon.